I'm in 2 Kings in chapter 4, if you want to join me there today. I'll be looking at verses 8 to 17. So 2 Kings chapter 4, verses 8 to 17. And last week as we kind of walking through this book of 2 Kings, and we've been here for a minute, we're going to be here for a minute more. But as we were walking through this book, last week we saw a woman with incredible problems. She had unimaginable problems. And we saw how God provided for her, gave her literally honey from the rock, right? This week, we're going to see a woman with unlimited potential. Last week, we saw a woman that had unimaginable problems, and yet God provided. This week, we're going to see a woman that had unlimited potential, but God provided for her. And that's the message of the song that we just sang, and that's the message of the scripture as we look at it today. Listen, in both places, there will be a miracle. And we're not even going to get to the fullest part of the miracle yet in this Shunammite woman's life today. We're going to get there, but it's going to be next week before we get to the fullness of that miracle. But in both places, listen, there was a provision of God. In both places, there was this wonderful reminder that God has got whatever you think has got you under his control. The very thing that you think that is controlling you, God's got under his control. Amen? God is not impressed with your problems. God is not stressed by your problems. And I promise you this, if you just simply be impressed with God, you don't need to be stressed over your problems because God's got it under control. But there's a fundamental truth that runs through this whole story. It begins with our sermon 3 weeks ago, and it continues all the way through today. God is willing to do a miracle in our lives, but we have got to make room for that miracle. The big idea of our passage today, the culmination of 3 weeks of preaching, is simply this. You have got to make room for God to move. You have got to make room for God's miracle. We're going to look at a wealthy woman today, and we're going to say, listen, it's easy. You got money that I never dreamed of. She had everything she ever needed. She had her dream house. She had her dream husband. She had everything that she could possibly have. The Bible calls her a great woman or a wealthy woman. It'd be easier to look at her and say, you know what, it's easy when you got wealth. You don't need to have any worries when you got wealth, but I'm here to tell you, wealth won't take away your worries. It'll just give you a few more expensive ones. I'm just here to tell you that, listen, when you see adversity in someone's life, that doesn't mean that God is displeased with them. And when you see prosperity in someone's life, that doesn't mean that God is pleased with them. Regardless of where you are, whether you're in adversity, poverty, or whether you're in prosperity, God is no respecter of persons, and that sounds kind of hard to the modern ear, but what that simply means is God is love. He loves all individuals, but God is not impressed with your problems. He's also not impressed with your prosperity. God just wants to deal with you as an individual. And so the order of the story is so interesting. As I just set the stage for you for just a moment. We looked a couple weeks ago at 3 kings that went on a walk in the wilderness, and they wanted to wage war, but they went to wage war while walking through the wilderness without any water. When you walk through the wilderness to wage war without any water, you have a problem. So what did God tell him? He told him, listen, you need to dig some ditches, and when you dig ditches, I'm going to pour out water that you're not even going to believe, and the very water that I give you is the very thing that's going to defeat all of your enemies. You don't have to worry. You just got to dig a little bit. You got to make room for a miracle. And then we see a woman that was taken over by despair. She was taken over by death. She had incredible debt. She's about ready literally to lose her kids. She's already lost her husband. She's losing everything that she's got. The creditors are coming taking everything away, and God's like, what have you got? She goes, I got a little bit of oil. And he goes, you need to go make a little bit more room. You got to get a few more vessels. You got to make a little bit more space. And when she made space, she was able to experience God's grace. And I'm here to tell you, in some of your lives today, if you really want to experience the grace of God, and I'm not talking about the saving grace of God, I'm talking about God's extra unmerited favor just dumped out on you, this God who wants to give you exceedingly and abundantly more than you could ever ask or imagine. If you're going to see that movement of grace in your life, if we're going to see this movement of grace in this church, then some of us need to make a little bit more space for God's grace. If you want to see God move, there's some things that have to go away to create the space for God to move. Now listen, I'm not shortchanging the sovereignty of God. I'm not saying that God can't do anything, even if your life is cluttered and your calendar is cluttered and your life's cluttered. Can God still move? Absolutely, he can. But I'm here to tell you today, sometimes God withholds what he wants to do because we simply don't prioritize making room for him in our lives. I want you to see three things in our text today. 2 Kings chapter 4, verse 8. Here's the first thing I want to see. We're going to see in this woman making room for a move of God. Making room for a move of God. Look with me at verse 8. It says, one day Elisha went to Shunem, where a wealthy woman lived, who urged him to eat some food. It's a good woman. So whenever he passed that way, he would turn in there to eat food. Now, this wealthy woman doesn't realize it, but she is making room for a move of God. She simply sees a need. She begins to respond. She doesn't even know what's coming down the pike, right? She has no idea what is in her pathway. She simply sees a person in need, and so she makes a little bit of space. She says, you know what? I'm going to give up a little bit of my food. I'm going to do a little extra cooking. I'm going to put out an extra set of dishes. I'm going to do a little bit more dishes when he's done. I'm just going to make a little bit of room. The first step in seeing God do something absolutely incredible in your life is to begin to make room for a move of God. Now, this wealthy woman, she had everything she needed, right? I've already said it. She had a husband that was loving and concerned. She has this crazy idea, like this dude with weird clothes and a beard and a stick, like Gandalf, comes walking by. And when he comes by, we need to stop and we need to feed him. And he's like, honey, we got enough of our own problems. No, he's like, all right, let's do it. Let's take care of him. She had a loving and concerned husband. She had a lavish lifestyle. It's not very often that the scripture calls someone who's not a king a wealthy person. Some of your translations, it says she was a great woman. That word great means that she had not only wealth, but she had respect in her community. She had a nice home. She had a husband who loved her. On the surface, she seemed to have a perfect life. But I'm here to tell you today, many people who seem to have perfect, happy, healthy lives, right below the surface, there is a problem bubbling. I just tell you this, you can't judge everybody by what you see on the outside. What you see is not always what they're going through. And the very people sometimes that you think are living a perfect life are actually living a rather tormented life. Now listen, here's the problem with problems. There's a problem with problems. Problems are always lurking. Problems are always looking to catch up with you. If you don't have any problems right now, I'm really sorry to tell you, it's just around the corner, isn't it? It's coming. If today, God bless you. If you're here today in church and you're like, I literally have no problems in life. I've got everything I need. Everything's perfect. My life is just absolutely hunky-dory. When I burp, angels sing. Everything is just incredible in my life, right? Wherever I go, little rose petals fall behind me and the birds sing. Listen, I'm not trying to be a downer. I'm just trying to be real to you. You got a problem right around the corner. The problem with problems is there are always problems. And there's always going to be a problem in your life. And so even today, if you're free from a problem, it's coming to get you. Now listen, here's something really interesting about the sequence of these stories. And by the way, do you know God put the Bible together in order on purpose, right? All right, so he gives us these two stories. I've already alluded to them, but I got to take you back to them for just a moment. Did the kings ask God for permission to go to war? Did they ask God which way they were supposed to go? Did they look for tactical military advice? No, they just started walking to go to war with a bunch of warriors without any water in the wilderness. They moved, and then they asked God to respond. Did this woman ask God to help her before her husband died, before her debt became so great, before she was in despair? No, she did all of this in response. And so here's a different woman, this Shunammite woman, this woman that we're considering today. She didn't even know that there was a problem coming, but she was already making room for God in her life. I would rather, you friend, be proactive to the problems of this world than be reactive. Will God still bless you? Yeah, because you know what? He is way more gracious than you are. And he's so faithful. He's so merciful. And he's so loving that God is willing to rescue you out of your problems. But what would happen if you would shift your life into preparing for the problem before the problem is a problem? What would happen in your life if instead of inviting God to come and clean up your mess, you said, God, I know a mess is around the corner, so God, I want you to prepare me for the mess that is ahead? How different would life be if you would shift your perspective in that direction? Here we see a woman that recognized she needed to prepare for a move of God. Let me give you 3 ways that you should prepare your life for a move of God. Number 1, you must declutter some areas of your life. She recognized that to prepare for a move of God, there's some areas of your life that you need to declutter. What do I mean by declutter? I don't know about you, but like when we have guests over at our house, I rarely take them into our bedroom closet. First of all, it would just be weird. But second of all, everything that we don't have room for in the space that we have goes in there. And so I know what it is to have a little bit of clutter. Now, my wife's a good, godly, clean household keeper. All right, I'm not trying to throw, this is me, right? I've got clutter in my life. If I were to take you into my office and you were to go into the closet in my office, I have clutter. You see, I've got all these secret spaces where I store things that are completely unnecessary. I have this desire to have order around me, and yet I'm not willing to get rid of some of the things in my life. And so I hoard them. I hang on to them. I keep them. And I want you to know, listen, there are things in your life that are cluttering up your life. There are things in your life that you're clinging on to. And you come here to church on Sunday, and it's like you try and compartmentalize the rest of your life, and you just throw all that stuff into a closet, and you shut the door, and you just say to the world, you shall not pass here, no trespassing, you can't see what's in here, keep out. But I'll be honest, most of us in our calendar, in our checkbook, and in our family activities have clutter that is keeping us away from allowing God to make a movement of grace in our life. And if you want to see God do incredible things in your life, my friend, there's some things you need to take off the agenda. There's some expenses you need to get rid of. There's some trips you need to stop taking. There's some lies you need to stop telling yourself. Let me give you one lie that some of you believe. A lie that, of course, no one in this room, I'm not picking on you. I love you. Before I say this isn't even in my notes. This is when I get myself in so much trouble. The reality is, very few of us are going to run Fortune 500 companies. Very few of us, if any, are ever going to play professional sports. Very few of us, if any, are going to be filled with earthly acclaim. And yet we spend our time chasing after these activities, and we have no room for God. Didn't Josh say it so well today? Can you imagine if this church shifted from spending 2 hours a day to worrying to 2 hours a day of worshiping? I'm here to tell you, you got to get rid of some clutter in your life if you're going to do that. How different would we be? This woman recognized, I'm busy. I'm important. I got stuff to do, but I'm going to make space. I'm going to make space to feed the man of God. Listen to these words, in case you just think I'm making this up. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and then all these things shall be added unto you. If you're to put your life under that lens, under that microscope, is your family seeking first the kingdom of God? Is your first priority seeking after the kingdom of God? These are red letter words of Jesus, a command to his church. Seek first the kingdom of God. He didn't say seek first athletic achievement. He didn't say seek first academic success. He did not say seek first professional advancement. He did not say seek first pleasuring yourself. He said seek first the kingdom of God. Then everything else is going to be added unto you. You see, She made space in her life so that she could identify need. When she saw need, she was able to meet it. And so one day, Elijah went on to Shunem, where a wealthy woman lived, and she urged him to eat some food. She had freed up space in her life so that she could minister. Number two, she recognized that to prepare for a move of God, there are some areas in your life that you need to decelerate. Decelerate. What does that mean? Slow down. I was talking to one of you just the other day. It was Micah. I was talking to Micah the other day, and we were talking about cars and whatever. And he was telling me at a time he was riding in a friend's car, and the throttle got stuck open. The throttle got stuck open. Can you imagine being in a car, moving at a high rate of speed, and you got the throttle stuck open? There's no way that you can slow down. You can try all that you want, but I'm telling you, that thing is just pouring gasoline into that engine, and it's just exploding and burning, and it's going, and it's going, and it's going, and there's just no way to stop unless you grind some gears, pull it on the emergency brake. Some of you need to grind down the gears of your life. You need to push the emergency brake. You need to put your foot on the pedal, rather. You need to just slow down, because the pace at which you are running is not giving you space to allow God to move. You're so busy, you're running so hard and so fast, there's no room for God in your life. Can he move? Yes. But if you become his 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th priority, why would he move? Be still. And then you'll know that I'm God. My friends, if there's anything I can encourage you in as a church, it's to begin to engage in solitude, silence, simplicity, and slowness. Because this world that you and I live in, this broken, failing, falling apart world, I'm telling you, it's pedal to the metal all the time. Go, 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 go. But when you go, 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 there's just not any room for God. Slow down. Third, she recognized this, that not only must you declutter, not only must you decelerate, there's some areas in your life that need to be devoted. Some areas of your life that need to be devoted. What do I mean by devoted? By devoted, I mean set apart. Some things that are used exclusively for God. The Old Testament is full of these ideas of things that are sanctified, things that are set apart. What did she do? She set aside a portion of her food. She set aside a portion of her time. I'm telling you, in this church, we have more need for more volunteers than we have ever had since I've been here. There are things that we are willing and wanting to do that we're simply not able to do because we just don't have enough bodies to get them done. There are other people that are carrying a load that is way too heavy for them, and they're doing so many things because some of you aren't doing anything. And I'm just here to tell you, if you've got time, if you've got talent, if you've got ability, and if you've got money, some of it needs to be devoted to the work of God. The Church of Jesus Christ knows nothing of members who are not servants of that community. I'm not saying you're not a member of this community. I'm just saying the New Testament church knows nothing of of individuals in the organization that are not serving. And so I want to now, I've given you the negative, now I want to give you the positive. God has given you all kinds of incredible talents and abilities. In this room, seated before me, there are people with unlimited potential. There are people that can literally turn the world upside down. There are people that can start ministries, improve ministries, carry on ministries. There are people in this room that can evangelize and mobilize. There are people in this room that can go on mission and send other people on mission. There are people in this room that can be discipled, and there's those that can disciple. There are people in this room that can literally change the world for Jesus Christ. But you've bought into the lie that what the world is selling is what you should be buying. And I'm here to tell you what the world is selling you is nothing but a bag of lies and tricks. To prepare for a movement of God, she gave. And if you really want to see a movement of God in your life, there's some things that you need to really value, and there's some things you need to devalue. There's some things you really need to value. And there's some other things you need to devalue. Again, let me quote the words of Jesus. Do not store up for yourself treasures on earth, where moth and rust corrupt, and where thieves break in and steal. But instead, store up for yourself, that means devote, set aside, treasures for yourself in heaven, where moth and rust do not corrupt, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For, listen, where your treasure is, there shall your heart be also. And no one can serve two masters. He'll either love one and despise the other, or hate one and love the other. You cannot serve both God and, I know it says in some of your translations, money, but the real word is mammon, which means the things of this world. It has way more to do than just wealth. It has to do with the entire system of this world. And so listen, there are some things in your life you need to start saying yes to. And some things in your life you need to start saying no to. This woman got it. This woman got it. She understood it. And so she cleaned up space in her life. She slowed down her life. And then she gave of her life. Why? So that the mission and the ministry of God could move forward. Now listen. You don't even know what the problem is because we haven't even gotten to the problem. Musicians, would you come? I've got a lot more. But guess what? You're going to have to come back next week to get the rest of it. We went through 1 point of a 3-point sermon. But I'm telling you, if we could get this 1 point right as a church family, we would not be the same church that we are today. If we can get this 1 point right as families, we would not have the same families that we have today. I'm here to tell you, you as an individual, you want to talk about getting rid of worry and anxiety. Listen, if you'll just do these simple things in your life, declutter, decelerate, devote. And when you do, you make room for a movement of God. Our gracious God and Heavenly Father, thank you for your words in your Scripture today, so ancient, so old, and yet they could not be more applicable to where we are as a world today. We've got more stuff than we need, and we don't even want the stuff that we have. We just want the stuff that we don't have. We run at breakneck speed, and we say that we're tired, and we're exhausted, and we're worried, and all you're doing is inviting us to a Sabbath rest. You say, let go, and you'll give us more than we could ever ask or imagine, but we cling to what we have because we think if we let go of it, it won't be good to us anymore. Lord God, I'm so fervently pleading of you today to allow my simple words to touch somebody today, that we would understand, Lord God, that you really, really want to do miraculous things in our lives. We just got to make a little bit of room. Thank you for what you have done. Thank you for what you're going to do.